Good job, Lee. Hey everyone, and welcome to today's video. We're going to continue working on the 225, and we're going to start by mounting this 60mm lip Pinasco crankshaft into the cases. And if you're wondering why I'm using a lipped crankshaft instead of using a full circle, because we have a direct intake, it's mostly because I want to switch maybe back and forth to a box carburetor just to see the difference. So in order to get this crankshaft through, first I want to make sure that the con rod doesn't push against the case, and then I just use a crankshaft puller to gently pull it through the bearing into the cases where it's seated, so no force is applied to the crankshaft. With the crankshaft now in, and after I have double checked that everything is smooth, I can move on to mounting the gearbox and a driveshaft, which I'm going to pull through with the same method. I did speed this up, so you can see here the driveshaft's being pulled through, and that opens us up to mount our gearbox. Of course, I always mess up the first gear. I just want to make sure that everything aligns properly, and I kind of forgot which direction I took it out from. So I eventually figured it out. I then mounted the cruciform, which I just got a new cruciform for this. I had to learn it the hard way through a mistake on a friend's bike, but I now make sure that there's red Loctite when I tighten this down so it doesn't come loose. Remember, I do not need to mount a short fork on this because the primary that we put together in our last video already has a short fork on it. Pinasco has been very good in designing this gear system. So after all the gears are done, we're just going to put all the flips in and the gearbox is ready. At this point, I think all we got to do is, kickstart the gear, a lubed up gasket, and I always put with a slap of grease, I put the Kickstarter spring on the other side just so it stays in place. And we can align everything and put it together. It just needed a few gentle tabs, nothing major, and it fell together. After torquing everything to spec, the bottom end is ready and I can move on to the clutch. Now this is where it gets interesting. The Pinasco Bull Clutch comes with two types of springs for a variety of clutch pulling force that's applied. I guess that's the word. So I clean everything up and I take my clutch basket and I grease it up. This is just simple gearbox oil. I also put it inside. This is where the little springs go. I made a mistake here. I used the golden springs, which are the hardest one, and I eventually went back and put the silver ones in because this is too hard for the engine that we're riding. But once we got them in, we put our little centerpiece on and get this ready to be compressed. You can use any Koza style primary that you want. I'm using straight teethed, as it goes with my primary. So I start off by putting the lower plate on and then the first clutch plate, which have been soaking in gear oil, and then continue alternating between a clutch plate and a metal plate until you eventually hit the last one, which has metal on the other side. Once this piece is in, I can just use the clutch retainer spring, clip it in, and my clutch is ready. I'm really looking forward to try this out and especially play around with the different springs. You can also put 8 to 10 or 12 springs in, so you can take some out. You can mix silver and gold. It's up to you. And to your preference and to your engine, of course. Now that we have the bottom end together and our clutch together, it's time to mount it. Put the woodruff key in place and it should simply slide onto the crankshaft. Then I use this little safety washer. I gently tap it in. I'm not banging on the crankshaft or anything, just the washer. And then using the clutch blocking tool, just tighten it down.
Good job, Lee.
Of course, don't be an idiot. Put it in the right way. And do not forget the clutch pressure placed, because I never forget it. Right? Right? Alright, thank you for watching. Don't forget to comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. I'm gonna move on quicker now, so in the next video I will mount the cylinder and the ignition, and then also talk about the different types of intakes, and then eventually we will start it.